Hello, adorable earth angels, and welcome. We're doubling down on the theme of the month, which is grace. And today we get to talk about something that's a little bit of a heavy topic, but kind of important. And today we are working on breaking out of hell. And so, first thing I'm going to invite you to do is lighten up a little bit and bring a little bit of humor, bring a little intensity, and of course, access Anankel, our angel of grace. Because grace helps. If you're new to the practice of breaking out of hell or hellish circumstances or hellish situations, then hello, you might need some help. Give yourself permission to be a learner. So importantly, hellish circumstances actually happen all the time here on this earth plane. So it's not like we're waiting for eternity to experience hell. We find it all around us and within us. And it's a function of grace for us to learn how to release it, let it go, break free, whatever the right dynamic is for you in any one given circumstance. And so once again, lightly, we'll start going over some slightly different definitions or different ways of doing the practice of breaking yourself out of hell. So we're going to give a nod to grace and one of its primary definitions or its classical functions, which is to protect us from eternal damnation. And as someone who feels in my soul that I am protected from eternal damnation, I would truly hope that you can experience the same feeling of freedom, the same love and acceptance, the same grace from the divine. And now let's put that away and let's get more into the present moment. Because the eternity is such a long way away, whereas now is right here. And so, if you are called, please join me in figuring out your practice of how I learn how to break out of hell with the help of God or Jesus or Mother Mary or Buddha or the Tao or crystals or angels or whatever works. Okay. So the versions of, let's talk about a few lighter versions of hellish circumstance that all happen in the present moment. A bad reaction, if you're triggered, we could consider that a version of hell, particularly if it's a pattern. Not rising above your patterns. When even you are sick of your same old response, that's a pretty good sign that you are ready to release some hell. Forgiving, or its opposite, holding on to, not forgiving, holding on to, grievance. Grievance is, it can be a very tough, hellish circumstance. If you feel like you've been wronged and you're suffering and you're hurting and you're projecting and you're in that vibrational state, well, lo and behold, you may be right, but you're also in hell. And so, full breath in. May I learn how to let that go when it serves. Also letting go, we not only grievances, but so many things that we hold on to, expectations, attachments, they can become hellish in circumstance if we're not careful. So full breath in, and a shifting tack slightly, we're going to talk about the selves and the way that can be dangerous. Self-destruction, self-loathing, self-criticism, shame, guilt. All those can rise to the level of hellish circumstance. Most of those have very little of an upside, and they are solely there for us to learn how to overcome them. Guilt, as I use it, is an opposing force. Anankel actually talks about guilt as something that blocks the free flow of grace. And so if you're in that kind of guilt, let it go. If you're holding on to guilt that's actually a regret, I use the word regret. There's plenty that I've done in the past that I regret, but I'm not guilty about. And the distinction is important because the regret gives us the strength to not repeat the behavior or to recognize it wasn't for us or to be genuinely contrite or sorry. And guilt is just the stuff that we want to avoid. I pre-drew one angel for this, and we're going to go to the glasses. And we got Gagalial, vibration. And this is one of the keys to actually fixing or changing these states is if you recognize that this is a vibrational pattern, and you can raise your vibration, or you can crack the ice of that vibration, or there's usually a vibrational answer to most hellish states that are just not natural to us. Your vibration causes the magnetic attraction that draws the life force to you. This is the electronic light substance that nourishes the body and spirit, connecting you to your eternal self. The more dense you become, the slower your emotions vibrate. It becomes more difficult to change yourself. Recovering your true feelings is the way to reclaim your spiritual power. The power and intensity of negative emotion provide fuel to burn through the rigid structure that has been controlling the flow of energy and vibration. And that's what we're describing as a hellish state. This structure is as real on an energy level as your house is on a physical level. It limits the amount of energy you receive and give, as well as your perception of what is true and meaningful, and it blocks you from experiencing the full truth of who you are. And so in a classic emotional release with venting and crying and anger and pounding on pillows, or yelling at a safe object, venting, sometimes that's what we need. On a lighter side, years ago, maybe as much as 20 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, I helped a person break out of a hellish state. She was a clogger, and we got her into the energy of clogging, which is a form of stomping or dancing, and it's very rhythmic, and the pounding. And so for her, dancing in that fashion created a vibration that cleared her of a couple of pretty pernicious hellish states. And so that may be the kind of thing. Singing might be able to do it. Martial arts has done it for me in the past. There's something about kicking, yelling, and bowing that's very beneficial for me. And so it is a case of find your own. How do I change my vibration? How do I sparkle? How do I spread my wings, if that's possible? Or how do I just surf out of the sludge? Surfing can be an excellent metaphor where you see yourself in a hellish state or a reaction, or trapped in a dynamic that it doesn't serve you. It's like, oh. So break free. Okay. One more breath in. There are an infinite number of ways for any one of us to break out of a hellish circumstance. And your job as a co-creator with the divine is to figure those out and exercise them and to practice. Before we go to our last angel, I do want to remind you that breaking out of hell, it's a skill. It takes practice. Accessing grace is possibly the most important part for some of us. Honing our free will is the most important part for others, and how they blend together. If you're over free willing it, access some grace. If you've been begging God for help, make a decision. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And then may we get it right, and may we find the right balance. Don't be afraid to start small. There are some hellish circumstances that require all of our humanity. Some of the soul bruises, they're hellish states. They actually require everything we've got and a little more, forcing us to expand. So don't be afraid to start small. Don't be afraid to be a learner, and celebrate your victories when they happen. Okay. The question is who helps us break free from hellish states? And Gagaliel was the first answer, and the second answer is Israfel. Music. Ta-da! For most of us, the right music can shift our mind frame, can shift our state of being. And it's not somebody else's to decide what does that for us. And so if you really want to work with Israfel, the angel of music, if you really want to hear the music of the spheres, you have to find the music that talks to you in the moment. And there are certain go-tos. For me, the Adi Shakti chant is great. And all kinds of pop music, everything from rock to R&B to Motown, can shift my vibrational state or shift my being and release. Sometimes it makes me cry, and sometimes it makes me smile, and sometimes it lights my heart on fire. So more of that, please. Full breath in. And I just want to acknowledge that for me, this is a relatively heavy subject, especially to share with others. And music is a very simple, a very sweet, and very effective answer. So if your answers are simple and sweet, please accept them. Peace.